Hello and welcome to Realeconomy. It's our last episode of the series and we've got a special one for you. We're at the Brussels Economic Forum, the EU's flagship economic event, held here at the European Commission. It comes as the latest economic forecast shows the EU's recovery is underway, with Europe's economies expected to return to pre-pandemic levels by the end of 2022. The Brussels Economic Forum is where Europe's top decision makers, academics, civil society and business leaders meet to discuss Europe's most pressing economic challenges. And the big question being asked is, how does Europe build its new economy as it comes out of the pandemic? Normally there are more than 1,000 people who attend the event, but this year it's being broadcast live from the studio here at the European Commission. So this is where all the hard work goes on behind the scenes. In a moment, I'm going to be speaking to 2 European commissioners and the head of the World Trade Organization. But first, we've been speaking to some of the small business owners we've met over the series to see how they're getting on. Dover was getting government help for her plant shop when we first met her.
Our biggest concern is that we will not survive, actually, because we have debts, large debts, and economy is quite slow now. What we would like from European Union is more similar rules to all the countries and all the businesses, no matter where we are located.
Greg was also getting state aid to keep on staff at his pizza restaurants.
The issue for us is there's a shortage of employees everywhere in the hospitality industry. How will you motivate people to become reactivated and to, maintain a motivation to grow the economies?
Well, the EU Commissioner for the Economy, Paolo Gentiloni, joins me on Realeconomy. Commissioner, great to have you on the programme.
Pleasure.
What help will there be for small businesses as we come out of the pandemic and as state support comes to an end?
Well, small businesses were hit severely by this crisis, and we do have at least 2 important tools towards small and medium businesses. One is the European Investment Bank program, and the other one is what we call Invest EU.
The latest economic outlook is positive, but there's still a risk of more poverty, more social exclusion. How much of a concern is that?
We knew very well that the crisis was not an equalizer. So during the crisis, differences among areas of different countries, among different incomes, increased. We do hope to have, through the Next Generation EU, a more inclusive and less unjust society.
Commissioner Gentiloni, many thanks for being with us on Realeconomy. It's not just European organisations at the forum. The WTO's Director General, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, is speaking about Europe's role in international trade. But first, here are some more Realeconomy voices that we've met during the series. Back in December, Bengt's company had most of its freight stuck in China.
We still have a lot of the air freight down. We still see some sea freight rates from the Far East to Europe that are actually 5-fold. We see a lot of Finnish companies now actually looking for opportunities to have their suppliers and have their sourcing done in Europe or closer to Europe, because now we all see the risk.
After losing her job, Laura had taken her graphic design work online.
I am personally worried about climate change. I would like to know if in the future the EU is going to give some kind of incentive or help to small businesses in some way so that their systems become more environmentally friendly.
A very warm welcome to the programme. You bring a global perspective to this event. Europe's economic forecast is looking positive, but other emerging and developing economies are in a more challenging situation. Why does that matter to Europe?
Much of the reason why you see this divergence is because of the inequity in access to vaccines. If we really want to change this divergence, we have to move fast to get vaccines to those countries and those regions where they don't have access. The EU has been one of the largest exporters of vaccines. Nevertheless, they've had an export restriction in place. I would hope that Europe would remove the restriction.
We heard just now how the pandemic has made some European companies look closer to home rather than trading internationally.
Of course, initially when the pandemic started, there were disruptions to international trade. What we're seeing is more of a diversification to other countries in Asia, for instance, rather than a big move to bring things back home. I think there'll be some of that, but we don't anticipate that this will be overwhelming.
Finally, what do you see as the main challenges that lie ahead as Europe seeks to build its new economy?
I think one, because of the extent of the stimulus that many developing countries have implemented, which is a good thing. But because of that, we also need to watch out for inflationary pressures. I think another one is a challenge of inclusion. There's been people who have been out of jobs, and 1.3 million of these are women. So trying to make sure women get back into the workforce. I think thirdly, the extent that Africa does not recover quickly. This may also be a problem or a challenge that Europe needs to look at.
Many thanks indeed for your time. The Commission's Executive Vice President, Valdis Dombrovskis, is taking part in that conversation on trade with the WTO at the forum, and he joins me now. Great to have you here on the programme.
Good afternoon.
We heard there how Africa in particular is behind on vaccines. Will the EU lift its export restrictions?
First of all, it must be noted that EU is the largest vaccine exporter in the world. So since December, we have exported some 385 million vaccines to more than 100 countries, which is almost half of EU's vaccine production. We have this export control authorization and monitoring system, but generally speaking, it's not restricting vaccine exports.
The head of the WTO said that the main challenges she sees ahead are inflationary pressures, getting women back into the workplace, making sure that Africa also is pulled up to the same level of recovery. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, inflationary pressures, indeed, it's something to be watched very closely. As regards women in workforce, that's, I would say, the long-standing priority within the EU, also to address gender discrimination, gender pay gap. And when we were publishing also our new trade policy strategy, we exactly outlined EU's neighborhood, both southern and eastern neighborhood, and Africa as a priority regions for cooperation.
We also heard there earlier from Laura, but she'd like to know if small businesses are going to have incentives for going green.
Well, indeed, there are going to be incentives, both in terms, for example, financing for research and innovation. We are proposing the carbon border adjustment mechanism, making sure that imports from the countries which are less ambitious in terms of emission reduction are subjected to this mechanism and does not affect level playing field.
Many thanks indeed for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us at the Brussels Economic Forum and throughout the series. A reminder that you can catch up on all of our previous episodes on our website. But for now, from all of us on the Real Economy team, we'll see you soon.